folks, Mr. Tolly. I had said a while back that I was going to break down some videos, and the first one I'm going to do is on pattern making. It's going to be a really simple pattern. This is just a college ruled composition book. I keep a few of these around the house, and I make a few covers for them. Used to sell quite a few of them. People don't tend to write anymore. But I'm going to take some of those things into account. I'm going to make the cover so that it'll hold both ends or both sides in place. Hopefully, if I do it right, we'll be able to put a loop on there to put a pencil or something in. But that's where I'm going to start with it. And let's get on with it. Simple 5x7 book. You can pick these up Walmart or where have you. Just about anywhere I'll have something like this. It's 7 long by 5 wide. So this dimension, I want to add 1/4 of an inch to each side. So we're going to make it 7.5 wide. And it's 10 this way, so you can double that to, or excuse me, it's 5, double it to 10. And you also have to account for the thickness is about 3/8 of an inch. 1/4 to 3/8. We'll call it 3/8. And we're going to add 1/4 to each end. So that will give us, what will that give us? 10.5 plus 3/8. 10 3/4. Oh God, my math is horrible today. I got a lot going on in personal life, so math is not my strong suit. So we got 10 7/8. Make sense? We could just go 11. Actually, I think I'm going to go 11. It'll leave me a little extra room to put a pen on the end. And we can put our pencil loop in there. So let's go 11. That'll just leave, it'll leave enough room to stick a pen on this edge. We'll put a loop in there to put the pen on. We'll put a pocket to put business cards or what have you in it. And we'll put a little pocket just for, you know, to slip crap in. Like a little slash pocket or something. So that's what we're going to do with this. It's going to be a simple project. We'll make a simple pattern and go from there. So I'm going to go 7.5 by 11. And that's the first thing we need to do. So I have here, this is just some cardstock. It's a temporary pattern. And that's how we're going to do it from now. So I want to go 7.5. Yep, let's actually cut our length first. Being that I know what this is, I know I've got a straight corner to work off of. So let's work off of that. We'll go, I had to tape 2 pieces together because they aren't quite long enough. Now if I measure in 2 spots and put it up against the other ruler here, that gives me a stop. That moved. This is a cork backed ruler, so it shouldn't slide around on the paper at all. And you can do this with just regular copy paper if you need to. I just happen to have this. My wife brings stuff home from work every now and then, and I make use of it. So we'll grab our little craft knife or X-Acto or trim knife, and just run that right up against the ruler there. I'm not throwing this away. There's other parts that need to be made yet. Now we'll go the other way and we'll get our 7.5. I could use a square to do this too, but not everybody has a square. Take your time making your measurements. You want to get them right. You're going to be tracing this onto a piece of leather and you don't get to add any to it. So you want to make sure that your measurements are right on the money. And I just hold the ruler in place and trim it off. That little piece I'll chuck. So there's our main body. I want to add, I have to put something on a piece, you know, just like so. Just a place to slide the flaps into. So that piece, let's move this out of the way. What's right on here? 7 by 5. Composition book. Cover. Body. And we'll put our measurements on here. So that we know the measurements. So it'll be like that. We'll set that out of the way. Grab our scrap piece here, or not really scrap, but let's be at 5 inches. 3 inches wide should be plenty to hold the book in place. Since I'm making this a little wider to hold a pen, I'm going to go 3.5 inches. And that'll leave me plenty of room for stitch lines and everything. Now, since we have that here, I'm going to go 3.5 inches for my pocket as well. Actually, I'm going to go a little short of that. I'm going to go 3.25. It never hurts to double check all your measurements. Oh, and look at this. How wide is this piece? 2.25 inches. Two and an eighth. That's going to be perfect for our card pocket. So we'll set that aside. So this will have to be a full 7.5. So we'll measure that out. I could line this up on the other piece and just cut it that way. But if I measure everything and all my measurements are the same, we should wind up all special. All right. So I'm just going to write on here 7 by 5. Cover 7.5 inches by 3.5 inches. So I'm going to call this the retainer. If you always write stuff on your pattern, you know exactly where it goes. This is going to be the pocket, and I don't need this to go all the way to the top. In fact, I'm only going to make it 5 inches tall. Because it's not meant to hold a lot. Well, let's go 5.5. Got to remember to account for that stitch line. And in every piece that you make, you need to account for stitching. Now this piece, I'm going to want to probably just put a curve on it. Sometimes you can just cut a corner off, you know, what have you. But I'm going to put a curve in it, and I don't yet know what I want to use for a curve. But I'm not going to curve it all, so I'm going to come in 1 inch on this end. Come in 1 inch. And what if I use a roll of tape? Get that so I can see it better. Yeah, it comes out a little different, but that ain't the end of the world. And we'll just draw that on and then cut it off. Now, there's a lot of different circle tools and stuff that you can get out there. I don't have them. I've always been able to just find stuff sitting on my bench or wherever that I can use. So there's our pocket. So and this was 3.25 by 5.5. Again, make sure you write on there. Now this is going to be the card pocket, and credit cards are slightly wider than a business card, so I don't want to go the full width. The credit card is 2 1/8, and I measured this at 2 1/8, and that should work just fine with my stitch line. That'll leave about 1/8 inch of the card sticking up. Should be pretty easy. Now a business card is also a tad bit longer, so I've got, well, generally I'll make a card pocket 4 inches. It's kind of just a basic standard width that I make. So let's go ahead, and this was 2 1/8 wide already. So I'm making it the full width of the credit card, but I have an 1/8 inch stitch line, so we should work out pretty well. And let's just measure this off at 4. crooked. I don't know how I did that, but I did it. So that ain't no good. I'm going to just use my mat here real quick. Line that up, line that up. Sometimes there's been times when I've just used my mat to make my pattern. So we've got 4 by 2 1/8. So I'm going to write on here and then my measurement 4 inches by 2 1/8 inches. Now I want to add just a little swoop in here just to make it just makes it a little easier to get the cards and stuff out. A lot of ways to do that. Some people get pretty fancy and cut nice angular stuff, and I don't know, I'm a lot more simple than that. If I come in three-quarters here, and 3/4 here, I can just line this up. And none of this is an exact science. And there I've got a little cutout. And I could just take this from another pattern too. And there's my card pocket. And it's that easy to do your patterning. The most that you have to do is you need to compensate for your stitch lines and any other stuff. Now I'm going to put a flap on there too, or a snap closure. I'm just not sure how I'm going to do that yet. And I'm thinking I might tool the body a little bit too, just to, I don't know, be pretty. We'll see. I'm not real good at tooling yet, so it's probably good practice for me since this is for my own personal use. But there you go. That's really basic pattern making for a simple cover for this. Making patterns for guns and stuff is a whole different deal, and there's a lot more involved in that. And I don't really want to get into that. Because making a pattern for a gun can sometimes take me a couple hours. It's just the way it is. So there you go. In a nutshell, that's your basic pattern making. Always remember that you have to add for stitch lines or any other embellishments you're going to put on. And that's really all you need to do. Just remember to add space when you need it. So, basic pattern making, very simple pattern. You know, some of these simple projects I didn't even make a pattern for. And this is a simple book. And I'll show you the book at the end of the video here when it's done. So stay tuned for that. The result of the pattern we made, it's right here. The strap, I didn't make a piece for it. It's a 3/4 inch wide snap with a line 20, or it's a 3/4 inch strap with a line 20 snap. So it's nothing spectacular. Got our credit card or business card pocket. And we've got this pocket here that runs 3/4 through 2/3 of the length anyway. Just to slide stuff in. And there you go. All that's left to do is put it over on my reloading bench and put more data in it. So y'all stay safe and God bless, and thanks for hanging out for this one.